Okay, we're recording. Let me share my screen. All right, so if you go look out at the announcements, we have our welcome one that I always put out there. It has your reminder and some changes. So for the summer, we're Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. to 9:20. My office hours have changed because of that. So I'm 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday. This is not a Cengage or EC Council book. All of your materials are under your course documents. Make sure that you log into Blackboard by Wednesday so I can see the activity. We'll have a date on it in your grade book just to prove that you guys have been here and are interacting. And then I can say, yes, attendance is verified. So I need to do that by Wednesday night at 11 p.m., please. Make sure you keep track of your due dates in our syllabus and course calendar like we usually do. As always, make sure you communicate with me if and when you have some issues, okay? All right, so let's go look at week one. You will be receiving this week, I will be emailing everyone your CompTIA Sec Plus, what do you call it, vouchers. I would schedule this ASAP. You have to, the big red here, you have to have the test taken, not passed, taken before the last week of class. That means you have to have it scheduled on or before Saturday, July 20th. And I've had to stress this to every class. You have to take it. That does not mean you have to pass. I suggest you study to pass because, of course, it's good for your resume. It's good for your career, but it seems to take a little bit of stress off people when they realize they're not going to flunk the whole course if they don't make it the first time they try. So I suggest you get that scheduled because a lot of times those exam testing places fill up pretty quickly. So once you get this and you figure out where you want to take it, there's in person. I think you can take them online, but you can call the CWI testing center. I believe that that you can use the one at BSU. There's a testing center there. Basically anywhere that you can use a CompTIA voucher, you can go take this. So just make sure that as soon as you get that voucher, you go and get that scheduled and keep track of that. Okay. So in this one, I am combining two big things. One of the things that you have to have when we build this course is you have to have a foundation in understanding penetration testing. There's no way around that. We have to have something in there so you guys understand penetration testing because the capstones are built off of that. However, I do think it's important when you're doing penetration testing to understand a little bit of project management because in essence, whatever you're doing with your capstone is basically project management. So if you go over to course documents, we have a bunch of stuff here. So I have it broken out. There's this stuff that you've gotten before, but with our rubrics and grading information. There's a bunch of CompTIA testing resources. This is information on penetration testing, which you'll see used in a couple of coming weeks. And this is that book that you see listed on project management. So this right here, that's what you see. I'm not going to, there are no multiple choice tests, quizzes. Everything in this one course is split by, let me go look up the grading thing on my syllabus so I can give you the exact numbers.
It's all paper and project, right?
Yeah, it's paper and project. But it's split. I'll give you the exact number. Hold on. Too many different things named similarly. We have a naming convention, so. Okay, so 20% written papers, 20% based on what I label as team check-in activities, and that's basically meetings and things that I do with your two teams. 20% based on a group participation surveys that we do. And then the big boy, 40% is based on your capstone project and presentation, okay? So there are no quizzes, there are no tests. It's all based on papers and activities and projects.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the breakout between the presentation versus the actual project content?
I lump them into the same one because the presentation, what I do on the presentation, it's not presentation heavy. I do that more for you guys so that you guys can present to each other and talk about your projects. And I do that the day before it's done, so that if you're like, oh gosh, maybe there's something in my documentation I want to tweak before I turn it in on Friday, you'll have a little bit of time to do that. So the presentation is more a participation chunk rather than something having to do with the whole project. Great.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So share that screen again. So anyway, that's this week. The first week, I want you guys to work on a capstone synopsis. Now, for you guys, you can get together, and since basically you're working as the teams on this, get together and work together as a team. Here is what I want, how I want it formatted, your setup right here, our super simple rubric, the things that you need to include. Basically, just turn in, if you're going to be, if you want to work on it together, which would make it a little bit easier, just turn in the exact same paper with your name on it. You know, say where it says here, when you turn these in, just make sure that you change it so that it has like your name on there, so that you can say this is me, you know. But I need, you know, how we used to have someone turn in a little bit of text so I can at least give you guys a grade. Just turn in a paper so that I can grade you all. And if you turn in the same one, each person from that team turns in the same one, because it's a team project paper type thing, that works out for me just fine. Okay. But this is not, it's only 2 pages and it's double spaced. You don't technically need a reference page, but if there's anything that you want to list, if you're like, hey, when you're talking about this synopsis, we want to do something like we saw in this document. Well, if you reference anything like that, then you need a reference page. Okay. If you don't need a reference page. Does that make sense to you guys? I'm hoping that's it. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good job. All right. So, yes, you're okay. So, that's for this week. For next week, you're going to go over, this one's together. The first 2 weeks are basically papers that you work on together. You'll notice under your deliverables that there's some links to like the OWASP penetration testing methodology, because when you come up on the weeks after that, you're going to start seeing little mini papers on knowledge for penetration testing methodologies, because part of your required content for this course is you have to know certain things about penetration testing. So we had to put some stuff in there about that as well. So I tried to make it pretty cut and dry so you guys would understand exactly what they were. So on the second week, I want you guys to do a simple 2-page outline, can be double spaced. This one will have to have a resource page just because, see that number 4, if you're doing, you want to do which framework and why. The friendships people, I'll talk to you in a minute about how we're going to have to change some things on that, because every capstone has to have some link in some way to penetration testing. So I'm sorry, I know that changes your stuff a little bit, but I went back and looked at how they have the courses written. And in order for them to do that, we have to roll it around to that. But I have some ideas for you guys to look at. And I think it should be, well, there are lots of like files and things like that and tools that have pre-done penetration test, like they've done a penetration test, and they're like, okay, now you can do the digital forensics on these.
I was gonna say, what would make sense to me is like you send them like a hard drive or something. They have to penetrate the whatever securities on the hard drive, and then
Well,
uh,
they just need to, yeah, and there are like, remember that portal I was showing you guys? I went out and dug around, and all you have to do is type in forensics, and there's a ton of stuff. So you can use those pre-made files for this, because you can technically use those. And there's a bunch of different ones that you could use to test out data forensic stuff on former penetration testing things. So that is an option too. Okay. So for this capstone outline, I talked to, I think it was Steve yesterday. Don't expect this to be a hard and fast, this is how it has to be forever and ever. As your project goes, things will change. Part of the reason I want to do this is later on, I want to ask you guys, okay, so here's how we started. How did things change towards the end of your project? Because, you know, every project has changes. You have ideas going into it. And as you get through it, you're like, oh, okay, no, this is not going to work. Let's change it to this, because that's just the nature of any sort of project. So that's why I want you guys to do a little capstone outline to get you guys started on week 2. Then you'll notice here, you'll start seeing your outlines. Basically, these are just versus papers, and I tried to make them very simple, just enough that you will need to, they're just 2-page papers, not including your reference page. So they're not very long, and it's basically I'm the different methodologies versus what is called that OWASP that I had you guys look at, and that's what you're doing, is a compare and contrast on those. And I literally put the links up in the top here, and you'll notice there's this one right here. There are 3 of these capstone check-in phases. Those we do, I meet with each group individually. So a pen test group, I'll set up a meeting, and then the other group will set up, and I just check in with you guys. We talk about how things are going, and we do a little, you know, like surveys and things, and then we go from there. Yeah, I know. My birthday is this week, so I totally feel your pain. Okay. So far, does that structure make sense to everyone? Does anyone have questions about where we're going with this class so far? Makes sense? Good, makes sense. Surprise homework, womp womp, sorry. Yes, I tried to make it small things so that you guys could focus more on the capstone work that you're going to be doing, but you do have to, according to the knowledge that you are required to have coming out of your capstone, they require you to have knowledge of penetration testing methodologies. So I figured some compare and contrast papers would be a little bit easier than one massive research paper or something like that. So on top of your capstone project.
I was gonna say something tells me, because I'm looking through and I noticed the 2-page paper basically every week, and I was like, something tells me it's going to be important that I study the PFT versus OWASP really
Yep.
well.
So just make sure that you look at those because I mean, it literally says in your syllabus that you have to know a little bit about those penetration methodologies. So it's something that we're required to make sure you guys learn in order to get through your capstone. And then being able to apply those to your capstone, pick one of those, which is why you have the overview for OWASP and all that stuff. If you look under, you'll see the top one here. This is OWASP, and you can just scroll down through there and there's a whole bunch of things. And this is where you start out. I will say it gets a little wordy, so whenever there are the easy guides for these, work on those first, but the frameworks are what they want you to learn first. So just be aware of those. I'm not going to be like, hey, pop quiz on the OWASP and PCI DSS. So PCI DSS is the payment card industry, which I don't think any of you guys are going to be using, but you need to be aware that it's out there. So anybody, like say if you're working with anyone that does anything having to do with debit or credit cards or anything like that, you have to be aware of the PCI DSS. Yeah, exactly. So that's why that one's out there too. And you can see the nice thing about this little start page here is a lot of the stuff that will just look like the PTS. It just dumps it out and it's like, hey, look, here's the 7 phases. Here's PCI, and it talks about them. And then it has the links to the actual standards on there as well. It's a really nice little document. There are some, I think it's this one. So this one has links to like all the big stuff for like the full granular testing. And then one of them, I think this is the NIST one. The NIST ones, I will tell you, if I don't know if you guys have used theirs, if you go out, it gives you a little abstract, and then the actual documents to download are over here on the right-hand side. And that's just how NIST likes to do all their stuff. The test. One of these is, there's one that has a, oh no, I'm thinking of a different one. It's not pen testing. It's the, there's a NIST how-to guide basically on cybersecurity framework. And that one's really nice, but this is all their testing and assessment stuff. But there are tons of things out there if you don't want to read just the pure dry stuff. If you type in like this, and there are articles and things like that people had, yeah, right, Josh. You know, that's exactly why they have those documents for the PCI DSS, is because of people who were like, oh, okay, I'm going to reply to those messages where people ask for your credit card information with my actual credit card information. So
natural selection, and
right.
We should just let those people get what they deserve.
Yes, but they're getting so much more complex now. I'm surprised at how many just cybersecurity professionals have been nailed with some of the more advanced ones too. It's quite impressive how advanced they've gotten.
There's a relatively simple solution to these. Don't respond to any.
Yeah, right. I just don't respond to any sort of communications, and I have blocks on everything. Yes, that is, I mean, technically that is a form of risk assessment and response. Most companies probably wouldn't like that, but it is technically a response. So that is an option. Okay, so I do want to, let me stop sharing here. I do need to talk to each group. I don't know how you guys want to do that. If you want, if some of you, like if I know not everyone's here because we've got some people that are traveling and doing things. I don't know if you guys care if we talk about it as one big group. I don't know if part of you want to peace out and the other ones want to come back. How do you want to do that today? No idea. Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys are pretty chill, so you don't really mind. From what I understand, I'm just going to go ahead and let it record since I'm basically talking to both groups. From what I understand, let's say group 1 and group 2. Group 1 we'll say is the penetration testing. Group 2 is our digital forensics. Group 1, you've kind of got a basic. I'm sure I'll find out because it's your assignment on what you're going to be doing. But are there any problems on the direction in which you're headed? Is there any? Do you kind of have like who you need to contact and all of that set up?
Which group is group 1, the pen test or the
Pen test.
I believe for the setting up of the actual penetration test, that is I got it written down somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm
It's
just gonna work
Josh.
with my CISO to get it set up.
There
Yeah,
we go.
yeah. So you so there's some documents on setting up. So you have a contact with like legal or something over there?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty much the guy, so
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to
Well,
talk
that
to our
works.
security guy. So I'll
Okay,
just have my
so
security guy set up a lab or something, and we'll just attack that.
okay, so you do have someone that you can work with over there,
Yep.
and you've got steps to go. Okay, all right. Because I feel like I dropped kind of an anvil straight into digital forensics. I'm sorry about that for group 2. We were when I was originally told it was kind of an anything goes Wild West thing, but when I went back and looked, everything has to somehow relate to penetration testing, but digital forensics technically, anything that comes out of a penetration testing scenario can be digitally done with digital forensics. We can there's a couple of options there. You can go out and look at that CFREDS portal, and let me share this with you real fast. And then, so if you go out, and this is what it looks like when you first go out. Hopefully it doesn't just die on me when I'm doing this. So you go out to this and then look at browse data sets. And then you see this tag section over here. If you type in, see how I start typing forensic, just hit that data forensic related. You see how many we have that start popping up here. Okay, so Gwen, you're kind of the team lead from what I've seen for contacts. So if you and your team want to look through here, I mean, right here, you see a Linux forensic attack scenario. There is not a problem with you guys doing multiples of these files to try out multiple products, because you're doing, your overall thing is you want to do something with digital forensics. So what I would do is, this is just a good place to look and go through and say, hey, I want to do some, I'm just making stuff up. I want to do some cloud stuff. Okay, there's that AWS EKS cluster forensics. Let's do that. And hey, I want to do some Linux stuff. Okay, let's do that. Or if you're like, hey, I just want to go hard on the Linux stuff, you can go and look through a bunch of those. So there are just tons of these. As you can see, you can just scroll and scroll and scroll. And there's a ton of different types. There's like steganography, images, email. So look through I suggest you look through those. Yeah, there's lots and lots. So you can have multiple data sets, not just like, here's one, meh, you know, you can choose like a whole category and just go ham on these data sets to try out different tools and techniques. So I suggest you go look at that as a team and take a look and see what type of stuff you might want to do. If you decide that there's something that maybe you want to do that might require hardware or something, let me know, get with me. We'll see what we can do about that. But most of the digital forensic stuff should just require access with tools that you should be able to download for free for at least and I'll warn you about this. Some of them are 7 days, some of them are a month, some of them are 6 months. So, and some of them require that you have to sign in with your wgu.edu because you have to prove you're a student. But since you're students, you have access to a much larger variety because you're students than you would normally. And some of them, you might have to do something like, we're students, and they might go, sure, well, who's your teacher? You may just have to forward something to me. That's fine. We'll get it done. So I suggest you guys go through and look at these and kind of get a little bit of an idea of what you want to do. And if you need help whittling stuff down, just let me know. Same goes for pen testing for group 1. Are you guys going to do Wi-Fi? Are you going to do hardwire? Are you going to do building physical security penetration? Think about and talk to your people and see what they are comfortable. Like talk to your team and say, hey, what do we think would be cool? And then talk to your employer, because some employers will be fine with like, it's okay if we set up this. Like you said, you have like some labs that they might have you set up to attack. But if you set up physical security testing, I'm not sure the rest of your people are going to be comfortable with that, German. But then they may not be familiar, very happy with the physical security aspect. So that's what I want you guys to start working on this week, is the scope of your project, basically, is where you want to start. And the whole point of this class is you guys will probably have more back and forth with me than you've had with a lot of your other classes. So DM me. We can pull me in. We can do Zoom. We can do, I'm here, I'm on Discord tons. I just want to get you guys set up so you guys have a good experience and that you guys have. Yeah, there we go. That's exactly a good idea. Yeah, so get your scope set up, figure out as a team what you want to do. And then if you've already got your point of contact. One thing I will say, Josh, the other group that I had that did a similar situation, they did their scope. They had to do and I suggest that you do this too. You need basically like a contract thing, and all of the people in your team will need to sign this too. That says, we give you guys permission to do whatever's listed in your scope. There you go. And because there was actually an incident because they did physical security work and they had to carry this with them. Otherwise, there was a good chance that they could have been picked up by the police on accident. So just make sure you have permission for everything and keep that permission with you, and keep in line with the permissions that you have set out. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes, I've broken your brains. Not that kind of scope. Funny. Okay, so I'm gonna stop recording here and I'm just gonna start chat with you guys as groups, okay?